Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be switching the sauce up a little bit. Instead of focusing predominantly in-game, I thought we would take things out of game, if that makes sense, and dive in a little bit here to the general chat on the official Call of Dragons Discord. There are, at times, kind of sporadic bursts of drama, of excitement, of shade throwing, of clout faming, of just back and forth, sometimes good, even good conversations and great topics to touch on. And I thought it would be a cool, different approach to go through Gen Chat for the past couple hours when there was kind of this spike and spurt of post volume, and just give my thoughts and my opinions on some of the topics and maybe just cover a few others that were shared and see maybe where the next little bit takes us. So with that in mind, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell. Of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. All right, casual mode. Gotta get the good agua. Okay, so here we go. So this one starts off with Kawhi mentioning kind of the 3 rally, 3 bosses. This was in server 2 for one of the past TA has right now, where they had 3 rallies and 3 behemoths that were big stuff. It was pretty intense. Let me see here. Welcome 6 rally, boys. Our boss, I guess boss, okay. Hits the blah, blah, blah. Okay, a little shade there. Another grown-up counter shade comment. Then we get Kawhi, where is the justice, bro? Hello. Steel says double is short. It's kind of talking about the Garwood Madeline, just really good healing. I think they mentioned it kind of insane or high healing. Not really a lot to compare it to. I haven't seen too many reports from kind of epics where there was some decent healing involved, at least in a kind of garrison defense or a rally attack. Let me see here. At least I know what uses Richard. Yeah. Kind of says, yeah, but TA funded by Junny's limited resources, so they don't care about it. I mean, so far, it does seem like he's been spending decently. He still says, eventually, they'll run out, eventually, surely. They only run daily resource dealing. Next day, they fight again. That's what's happening. You got more players, so just got to outlast them. They will get tired defending every day and spending RSS, and you eventually now want to spend more. I mean, it just depends, you know. I mean, I've seen, that's the thing about playing Kingdom Builders where they have RSS Assistance enabled, which is essentially the ability for you to transfer RSS from one account to another. But what's funny is that you're now seeing kind of this workaround play, and it's been happening for a little while, just across the genre, where instead of spenders, right, who want to assist and who want to help players, it's kind of twofold, really. Instead of them just flat out transferring RSS, what they'll do is, reach out to players, find out if they have Discord, you try to do some light verification, and then they'll just send them money, right? Whether it's, as an example, on a Google Play card or some type of gift card, something redeemable that maybe they can do, or maybe they'll buy it themselves, and then they'll give them the redeem code. This is something I've seen. And this is actually, if you think about it, I don't want to say a better way, so to speak, but it kind of lets you double dip. Because on one hand, if you're kind of mid-high level spender and you're willing to help out others with advancing and progressing, you have to look at it from, if you're a spender, you are already buying however many packs, if not up to everything, right, on a daily basis. And so you probably already have a lot of resources. It doesn't really make sense for you just to sit there and max. Like, you have to think about it like from a spender's perspective. If you're trying to fund something, right, you don't just limit yourself to buying on your account and transferring only resources on your account. You can still transfer resources on your account to others, but then you can also send people redeem codes, right, as an example, and obviously in any other method that you may find suitable. And then they can go and purchase bundles, right? So they're kind of getting more value that way instead of you kind of doing it right now. That's just depending on how intense you want to go. I've seen Kingdoms and other Kingdom Builder games where you've had some of the mid-high level spenders that have done this, and they'll double dip and not only send resources but also help buying them bundles. So it really just depends on what that individual's capacity is and how much they're going to go for. The thing is that if they feel as though they even have the slightest chance of coming out on top, right, that's enough hope, right? Hope can be a dangerous thing. Then we got my boy Sleepy coming in. Hey, everyone, just joined the Discord. Got a message from a friend. This guy. What up, bro? What up, broski? Then we got, let me see, 4 servers are released. Testing purposes, don't think they'll be releasing until launch. Been waiting. Server open a month. Oh, dude, see, look, dude, this is just everything, right? All these, ooh, look at those legendary nom-noms. Season ending, not launched. Test servers. Let's see here. Funds for the devs. So Zilla says, this is I think one of the early topics, right? Zilla says here, imagine joining an alliance just for bundles. And Steele's like, to be fair, it's kind of cringe. Look at this. Loyalty error. Let me see. We're not leaving TA. There's a gold chest. Literally goes around begging players to join. It's actually cringe, not going to lie. Flexing credit card. It's not even his. Don't give up. Victory will be the best feeling. Junny can't out credit card them, but can exhaust them till breakdown mentally. So let me touch on this thing here about, from what Zilla said about, it's joining alliance just for bundles. Again, I don't know. I obviously can't speak to how long Zilla's been playing, just kingdom builders in general, right? These games have been out since, oh gosh, how far back do I have to go now, right? Like 2010, 2011? Probably earlier if I think of Game of War. I know it was one of the early ones out, but neither here nor there. Point is that even if you just started playing Kingdom Builders when they started becoming a little more popularized, right, with things like Lords Mobile, Rise of Civilizations before it turned into Rise of Kingdoms, State of Survival, right? These are kind of the big three, if you will. This is pretty standard practice, right? Not for everyone, but for some players, right? It's kind of like the ladder climbing effect. You start out playing, you learn a little bit, you realize, okay, well, hey, I'm really active, I'm more active, I'm a little bit higher I'm higher average power than my current alliance. Maybe I may consider wanting to try and join a higher ranked alliance. And then once some players kind of get a whiff and they kind of understand how things play out, where in most of these types of games, the top alliance, usually the number one alliance, on average, will. Obviously, if things are just playing out by default, right, for standard kingdom progression or development, then the number one alliance, on average, will have the most spenders in it. And so usually you'll kind of have this, like I said, ladder climbing effect where some players will just want to keep working up the ranks. And so this is standard. I don't really think this is cringe at all, right? I mean, maybe if you want to kind of talk about it in the broader sense of how a kingdom management goes and looking at how you can kind of develop good practices and good standards, setting good precedents early on so that way you can have good morale through a sustainable period from day one in a kingdom all the way up until, the year one, for example, then yeah, that's a separate conversation. But if you're just simply saying, that, it's cringe or, how dare they just join an alliance for bundles, I mean, when you're in kind of what I would consider to be a kind of unorganized kingdom in that sense, even though I probably should use a different word, really. I mean, that's kind of that's the one I would usually use. But, gosh, what do I try? Because the thing is that you could still technically be organized even if you're not, doing things like power balancing, for example. It just leads to more cons and road bumps down the road that most usually just don't see until it's kind of too late. So what I will say is that, it's just one way of going about it. And so to me, it's not really cringe. It's just the way things happen. And it's just good to have realistic expectations. Let me see, not even his. Let's scroll down. The credit card is not back and he's showing off. Think of it this way, Junny's feeding your future members after you defeat them. Yeah, maybe. They've already been kicked out of Zone 3. I mean, they still have the Level 3 pass. I mean, I guess you could argue as far as not having any flag territory in Zone 3. Yeah, they don't. Let me see. No, this guy's DMs, whoever you are, may not be deep pockets. Oh, well. Let's see. Spend money, lose money. I gotta be Junny's kind of base. People feeding off him are the cringy ones. I mean, the thing is, I don't necessarily know if people are feeding off of him. I mean, if this is the thing, if I was playing Like, I'll give you an example. If I was still playing in Server 2 and I was not running my own alliance, I probably would join TA. Why? But why would I join TA? Understanding that there's a season reset system and that you're going to be able to either rejoin that same alliance or join another alliance, right, when the time comes, really what you're doing is benefiting yourself as an individual, right? You're allowing for your account to progress at the fastest rate possible because maybe you have intentions of, for example, let's say there's some people in TA that want to go join one of the other alliances. Let's say there's some players in some of the alliances that want to join TA after the season ends. Let's say there's some players that are in TA for Gold Chest and they're going to migrate out, or maybe they'll join another alliance whenever the mergers happen, right? And then obviously pending how those even happen. And then, of course, if that even is a thing to do, it's kind of the second branch there, right? So there's a couple paths that players can go down. However, if you're solely thinking about being able to progress your account to T5 as fast as humanly possible, right, from the individual player's progression perspective, then yeah, potentially joining TA may not be a bad decision. Now, you're also expected to fight, right? So, if you think about it, on the other side, is that if you're not fighting and you're just wanting to progress and develop your account, then, you're probably not, joining one of the top alliances probably might not necessarily be for you, right? Maybe you kind of go like the DWD route and maybe lower. I think they're like 6 or 7, I believe, on the rankings. And of course, I don't know how much they're fighting, so I'm just giving an example. But whatever ranked alliance is the highest, but not engaging in PvP, right, you could consider going there. However, if you're getting enough purchases and bundle chests from who's ever making purchases, maybe that outweighs you needing to go and fight. I mean, I think it'd be hard to expect every single member of those alliances that is fighting. I'm sure there's got to at least be a couple people that are probably just chilling and just progressing and just racketing chests, right? And if you're in that boat, in my opinion, especially if you're free to play, let me state that, right? If you're free to play and you're not spending at all, and you are just raking these in, then more power to you, because you're just progressing your account that much faster. And really, that's kind of one of the primary goals of playing Kingdom Builders, is trying to max your account out as fast as you possibly can. Those who are able to focus on pure development are going to be able to have that much more of a stronger account when and where / if fighting is needed, right, by those individuals. So for me, I can see it from both sides. Let's go here, right? Just showing off Junny's resource assistance given, right? 783, 784 mil. Just bonkers, man. He's just sending resources galore out to people. Definition of a gold digger, man. These guys, so intense. Throwback to a time when TA guy, I don't remember, or Junny pays them. Statement the other day, getting payments. Well, that's aggressive. You're right. Oh, okay. Let's see what kind of idiot no had. Rice costs. Drive once. Here we go. Claveria, says Mr. Clav. I think EMP members for this. Kikia, I don't spend my money on games. I'm not as vain as you are about virtual things. Well, I don't really know what the previous comment is, but people can choose to spend or not spend. Let me see. You look like Gobble. You look like a baboon. Ooh, man, dude, the shots are coming out now. Insulting people on how they look very classy. Maybe, let me see. Huh. I will say this. This looks a little incriminating, where it says we're not leaving TA, there's a gold chest. If, of course, the person said it. And then I don't spend my money on games as vain you are about virtual things. Yeah. Let's do this. The definition of vain. having or showing an excessively high opinion of one's appearance, abilities, or worth. So, do we think that a high opinion was shared here about a virtual thing? I would argue yes, in that regard. Okay. Moving on. Let's see here. Leader of TA. And so, and then my buddy Ian H. I'm just going to go with, I don't know if it's Iana. I'm just going to go with Ian H. Right? That's at least until told otherwise. Let's see here. We got, to be honest, this conversation is pretty cringe. Joining good alliances for gold chests is pretty normal. Yeah, it is. I mean, as I said before, echoed right there. Junny, fair enough. That's your opinion. Big players. So cold right now, man. My nose. Killing me. Sauce was recording. Here we go. Wow, a lot of feelings in this chat. I guess you got to start to type it in our own language. Okay. Oh, dude, wow. Jeez. Ugh. I mean, this is the thing I would say, right? Is that just keep it civil. You know what I mean? No need to use derogatory language or, sink to that point. Honestly, it's actually funnier and more skillfully enjoyable when you can use, I don't want to just blanketly state dictionary words, but when you can use words that are arguably, see, I don't even know if I want to say have higher intellect, because, I mean, that might not even be appropriate to say, or at least correct in that regard, but being able to use words that say the same thing, but are just, I guess, more professionally properly spoken. I don't know. I find it hilarious. I love doing that kind of stuff. Let me see. When the realized gold chests will not make up for losing season rewards, no behemoths in Zone 3. I mean, we'll see. Red Dragon beats 50 gold chests. My buddy Mal. It shouldn't be embarrassing. T5 got pushed out of Zone 3. Well, see, this isn't accurate, because by the time Junny hit T5, from what I was told, and also after speaking to Junny as well, is that they had already got pushed back to the gate. So it'd be different if Junny had, 100,000 of mill troops at T5, by the when they were still pushed in to T3. Excuse me, Zone 3. That would be interesting to see. And it still could be, right? Because remember, he's the only one in Server 2. And then someone else told me that Boogeyman or Bogey Man in Server 4 hit T5. But I haven't. I was trying to find out if I could find him on Discord or something. So I'm not sure. I'm going to message him in game, or I'm going to message the player, right? Let me be gender appropriate here. And then I'm going to see when they might have hit T5, just because I'm trying to get somewhat of a gauge on, what's the lowest power you can be to min-max to T5, because that'll pretty much be a free-to-play's, liquid dream, if you know what I mean. So, okay. Leader diplomacy skills over leader deep pockets. S4 disproved this too. They're giving their members packs to try and win. I haven't spent anything in weeks, whereas TA spent thousands just to lose Zone 3. What can I say? Just massive difference in leadership. To be fair, I don't really think this is a leadership thing. This is more of an individual player's decision thing, right? So I don't really believe that's something that factors into leadership just as much as, in this case, right, Mao deciding not to spend anymore. It's more of an individual choice. Let me see. Their morale is high, but the pass is virtually impossible to take due to, biggest whale quit already. Yeah, I saw. I heard that as well. If this is right, and it was from S4, then someone told me that the whale quit and he gave it to the rogue player in that kingdom as their account. So that'll be interesting. I'll see if I might be able to cover that. I think someone sent me a breakdown of the situation. I'll have to kind of do a story or something here in a bit. Wouldn't it be funny if versus all TA they got completely extinct and then it becomes normal PvP after that, whatever normal then would be? Yeah. Let me see. TA is heavily affiliated with King, as members of King had access. had access to Junny's account. Possibly. I don't know. Myself. So, all servers versus King and TA. Well, we'll see. S1 has such an advantage. I mean, to an extent, but I think S2 is doing really good as far as pacing goes. Due to ton of growth, ain't even 150 people, not going to allow a lot of farm accounts. That's the only 70-ish actually fight. Right, I said it before. You guys, S2, yeah, S4 is very active. Peaceful Care Bear server 2. Care Bears all the way, bro. Only if you're shooting, what is it? Shooting, what's that stuff that they do? I guess you could say sparkles. There you go. Shooting bedazzlers out of your bellies. Common cold and see women joins New Alliance. To crush the people who didn't want to fight. Yeah, it's a great way to kill. That's a very great way to kill your kingdom. Good active. Yeah, I think could be more though. Hopefully their advertising of the game prior to global release is good, so we actually get active servers still and not just seeing people going to new. Yeah, I think so. This is pretty normal in this case. When I played beta for Infinity Kingdom, you had multiple players that just kept hopping to new servers because there was just such a gap in between, such a long interval gap between when new kingdoms were opening during beta, that you often would have a quality amount of players that would always go to the newest kingdom, even though you're still getting new players in. It wasn't as though the kingdoms were opening in a short enough span to make it so that these players kind of stopped hopping. Like they really actually had time to sit there and grow because of the long intervals. Let's see here. 2 alliances, 1 server. That's best 400 players. That's 4 is like 6 alliances with decent power and capped members. That's like 1K. King has a unified force members to join. I'm willing to bet my account King will lose half its power going into Season 2. This is somewhat interesting, so to speak, just because, from where it says forcing members to join. This is something that actually is, I don't want to say not uncommon. Well, I should say it's not uncommon. Let me say that. It's kind of far, I don't want to say super common, but it is somewhat common, where you'll have kingdoms or let me specifically say alliances in some kingdoms where they just try to unite people under the same banner, right? And to me, this is kind of like an outdated way of thinking. Oh, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? She needs to refill on the wine that I get. So I like how she came in though and jiggled it and was like, I need a refill. I was like, I got you, babe. It's my boo thing. Okay, so then we go to, where am I at? Let me see. Do you see it? C2? Anything? Oh, sorry. I was trying to go into this, right? So yeah, you'll have some alliances that will, right? They'll try and do this thing where they, like I said, they want to unite you under one banner. And it's at times it comes off as them forcing, unless they are directly forcing, and they'll say, hey, we're going to basically crush you unless you join and take on our name, or we're just not going to give you any love, right, any support, and then we won't allow you access to certain things. Now, it depends on the severity and how deep this goes, but this is somewhat kind of common-ish practice. Not to say that it happens necessarily in every kingdom, but it can. And it really just depends on that alliance and those leaders' mindsets. What's funny is I used to actually have this mindset in my first, I want to say in my first project or two, even though it was never kind of done in a forceful way, and it was more of we just recommended it, right? It was never, hey, you need to do this or we're just going to kind of cut you out. It was just we tried to push it, but it wasn't we never did it to a breaking point. And then eventually my mindset evolved from, there's really no reason to do that, because if you just humble yourself and you still support the people no matter what, there's even times I've seen where people say, man, we love what you guys are doing. Can we still join the family? We'll take on a tag, and they'll just offer to do it themselves. And so it's just about not being forceful, just kind of letting them come to you, right? Not necessarily saying you got to play hard to get, but you just have to you really have to kind of understand how to go about talking to people. And I think that's a really big kind of underrated skill in these games when you're conducting diplomacy, because it does take people skills. It takes having a good understanding of kind of all game mechanics, having an understanding of what is possible, what's not possible, how you plan to go about working with other alliances that are outside of your alliance / outside of your family group of alliances, and then what is the benefit? Because if you haven't played in enough kingdoms where you've done these types of things and you've had different styles of approach for how you want to incorporate or even engage with other alliances within the kingdom to try and nurture their growth and their development, then you may not know how those things will play out long term. Thankfully, I've had the opportunity to really do so much trial and error on a lot of different ways on how to go approaching kind of starting zones for if you work with alliances, you don't work, you partially work, you work a little bit more than a bit, and seeing how those effects play out, across, anywhere from a 3 to 6 month period. And there's just again, it's one of those things where again, there's not a lot of data out there on it, and that's just because you kind of have to do it for the most part, right? Even I don't really talk about those things that often. It's something I could if I decided to ever make a video on it, but those are things that usually you kind of have to get that on the job training, on the job experience, if you will. Okay, let's continue here. We're about 25. We're doing okay. Be Necro. What do you mean check server 4? Been fighting Nivola. Tip 1. We're going to try 15. Honestly, weird flex, like 90% of the players in COD is from Rocket Race. I mean, maybe. I mean, again, I let some players from Infinity Kingdom know about this game. Some of my friends from there have come over. Others that found out about the game from Infinity Kingdom came over as well. And then, I would imagine a decent amount of players from Rock have. And then there's, completely new players. But I don't think the amount of overall... I think the majority of the players right now in this Discord are most likely Kingdom Builder players already, right? Whether they're tenured or veterans or have just played for a little bit. So I don't think that the majority of players here, at least in this Discord currently, are a majority of new players. I do think eventually it will be once Global comes and they start pushing the Discord more often and you have more people that join, then eventually it will. But I think right now, it's heavy. But you could argue that's a good thing, right? You want more experienced players, ideally, in beta, so they can give you more quality feedback, right? Mainly just because they have more experience and knowledge playing in this genre. Let me see. Junny, TP under tower, and just sacrifice troops over and over and over. Gain nothing. Yeah, I mean, this is my thing. I will say this about TA, and I've said this in some of the PvP fights that I've shown off so far as well, is that there, at least for and again, I'm only speaking for the engagements that I've seen. So for those, it does feel as though there's a level of a lack of coordination, right? A lack of kind of strategic and tactical experience on how to go about playing. I think what's unfortunately happening is that the players are trying to play COD like Rock, and COD is not like Rock. COD is more like StarCraft, right? It's more like Halo Wars, right? It's more like Warcraft. It's more like Command and Conquer. It's a little bit of League of Legends mixed in, right? And you have to really shift your mindset almost completely due to the ranged and flying mechanics units that are in the game that really kind of just punches through, standard Kingdom Builder PvP assumptions, right, and approaches. And it really just expands what could be, right? I mean, we're talking about the ceiling has just been raised so much higher, more than double. And it's really just about learning how to do that. So there are certain things that, I can agree with there on that I've seen that when TA is kind of pushed or if they're doing something, it definitely could have been done in a more structured and more well thought out way. Right, and I will say this, right? I mean, let me state though, I've seen this from both sides. It's just kind of in responding to this specific question, right? I would tend to agree here, at least for the instances I've seen. Just saying, clearly never played a Rock before. I mean, again, I think there's some things, but I do think there's some things that are relevant to do in COD that you could say players do in Rock. But there's a lot more that you can do in COD than you could ever do in Rock. Let me say, I really want to know how much art your power is position king. I'm not a king. What do you think? Well, that is even worse. Sugar was cleaning about this whole conversation. Oh, Jesus, the under the table shots. ATM, let's not forget. Promises. We don't use bugs. Thought check everything while it charges. Well, just got abused by TLDR. I'm absolutely emotional now. Okay. All right, I get it. Well, if you go to the March settings for the intercept, whatever the word is exactly, block marches from moving. Though SCJCT was doing this prior to us. Because ARC is one of the Junny's account. You're getting carried by one player. You're going to be begging to join in a week when she stops buying. I think this is the thing, right? Is that, unless those players are rogues and they're just attacking anyone and everyone, right? Regardless of what side you're on, people could say that, but, usually in the majority of the time you're going to welcome active players. Blurred my name. Marches from there we go. It'll go like TA is burning. Anyways, I'm not da-da-da. This is a screenshot from the official group. Yeah, no, it's not da-da-da. I have da-da-da on my friends list. Junny shares his account with multiple people. You can tell from playing styles their own abuse of bugs. The authorities do not care. To be fair, everyone really, I want to argue almost all the top alliances have abused some type of bug in Server 2 thus far. Which isn't to necessarily say anyone's bad for doing it. It's just something that people can do, and it's a matter of if they choose to do it or not. Look at the man tried to solo 70 people multiple times. I'm going to go play Skyrim. Damn it, AP. Let me see. Dungeon Crawler PvP. 28 feels more like Battle Royale than Dungeon Crawler. Hardcore scene. Rogue is awesome. I'll be happy warrior. Go rogue. Let me see. Ranger second strongest. Tarkov. My brother plays Tarkov. Right. You know what? I'm not even going to help to remove one of TA and even able to push out without a single troop of mine leaving. Then surely there's nothing to worry about. I don't know some King members inside this chat. See, Mao isn't even here still. You can't do anything. I think I'm... Let me see. I think I'm better. Oh, gosh. It's quite lag balls. House of Joe. No, you're blurring my name. It's easy to measure power and merits. It was a fun word that lasted a while. Due to bugs and stuff, you also haven't blurred your account ID. Sharing is why you blur out. Dang it, AP. But after Wednesday, it'll be impossible. Okay. Heard the ice ring. I was supposed to run TA because of gold chests when you won't be getting behemoth rewards from Zone 3 or Dragon. I don't even know what you're talking about. I saw the random message pop up. We even offered TA Peace to share the rewards to ensure we have a strong kingdom. They said no, and every other alliance must die, yet they claim they're being bullied. Just count, since they're, yeah. And end up dead again. Yeah, it definitely could be. I swear I thought I saw something here. Someone, I thought, showed me a screenshot. We must... Hang on. Oh, yeah, here it is. So Jing, I think, was the TA leader, right? So based on what Mao was saying, who is CJ, for those of you who haven't caught on yet, is that EMP offered TA to share, but that they just wanted to, right, that they just wanted, what was it, like they just wanted Dragon and to kill everyone? Let's see, what was it again? And then we'll scroll back down. Yeah, see, we have a TP share. They said no, and yet they claimed they are being bullied. Okay, yeah, so share reward, strong kingdom, they said no. Let's see what that screenshot says. So the screenshot here says, we are not negotiate yet. Tell me the conditions that we will decide between us so we can go for deep talk. Okay. I guess that you already have a plan about it right before asking your choice. If not, this is nonsense. Cinder Dragon for us in Zone 3. We don't care about the Cinder Dragon. The condition is that OWO and PKO2 won't take part of the war between us and EMP. Okay. You take, do whatever. So, I mean, to be honest, based on what Mao said there in his first post, that is not accurate, just because at least in this first response, we'll look at the second one, but in this first response, it doesn't say that they want to burn everything. It just says that they just want to have a fight between them and EMP, which technically would now arguably be OWO. And I guess I'm confused as well, because now when I think about the second part, given what we've found out, right, they sold EMP, one of the officers, right, sold out the leadership to someone from TA. So now that really baffles me, because how are you going to say, right, from Jing's perspective, how are you going to say we just want the war between us and EMP, but you used a tactic to get a hold of EMP and removed everyone. So you basically now want a war between you and an empty alliance. that doesn't make any sense. Maybe, again, just a loss of words there, but I'm just playing some logic and some rationale out here in the mind. So it says, if you make peace with OWO, you also make peace with EMP. You go to war with EMP, you go to war with us. Is that your final answer? Think well before you continue, because we will only ask this once. See, this is just not, in my opinion, how you conduct diplomacy. Respectfully, if it was me and I was going around and trying to find someone to do diplomacy, I would not have Mao do diplomacy for me, right? Nothing against Mao personally. It's just, you can tell based on how this person's typing that they're not really in this type of, like, when you're conducting diplomacy, you have to be neutral. You have to be like Switzerland and approach things in a very neutral way. So you do not come off emotional. You don't come off aggressive. You don't come off confrontational. And you're really thinking about what is in the best interest of the goal that you're trying to reach. And when you say, like, is that your final answer? Think well before you continue. That comes off aggressive, right? That comes off just not with the best intentions on how those things are worded, right? It almost kind of comes off as a threat. And then Jig says, it's not my decision, it's ours, EMP must die, and I think soon you will have a talk with me again. Right, it says, good luck, we will meet soon when TA dies. So this is my thing, right? So now, based on how the second post is going, this actually seems as though it's now making EMP OWO look a little worse here than it does for TA, based on how Jing's responding, because Jing is not responding in an aggressive or obviously outside of saying EMP must die, right? But he's saying that he's still open to talk again, and right then Mao responds when TA dies. So it really wasn't full-fledged in one direction of how Mao was making it seem right initially, where TA and Jing was coming across as they just want to kill everything, right? They specifically said they just want to fight EMP. I think it would have been, I think it could have been different if maybe Mao asked Jing, most of the EMP members have joined OWO. Are you referring now to OWO as EMP? Because sometimes you have to actually get to a starting point. And I don't think, based on the two screenshots, we saw them really get to a starting point before you can start kind of having that type of conversation. Because Jing could be interpreting one thing, and then because he's interpreting it, that's now reflective of how Mao's responding. So just interesting. Again, I would have approached that a different way. I would have tried to start to create a foundation first, and then we build from there. Just isn't one way to approach it. Still got love for Mao. But yeah. Let's see here. Ceasefire, as you've seen in the screenshot, they claim to have no interest in Zone 3. I wouldn't give TA nothing personally. Don't believe the word. That's interesting stuff. I mean, if they want to fight, I guess they can go fight now. Yeah. There is no zeroed in game. I don't want that emoji. Who's the Jing guy? Yeah, I think he was TAR5. Association of OWO. You need to go to Taiwan or Hong Kong to study. There's many kind of former Chinese. Yeah, there is. Different dialects. Actually, all those alliances were bullied by EMP and OWO. It's not that they screwed up, but they stood against their bullies. That's facts, or what happened in S2. Don't say any more false words. We are not negotiating yet. Tell me the conditions we would assign. I guess that you already have a plan. If not, yeah, I mean, man, I'd have to make another video. But what I will comment is that, and I said this in a previous video as well, and it's kind of the whole S2 situation, how it's been playing out, is that there are... It's interesting because on one hand, the consistent information I have is that, and this is what I've heard asking every single officer, every single leader from, at the time, the top 7 to 8 alliances. And when I think I heard back from 10 plus people, and what I did consistently hear is that there was a fight, there was a skirmish in a region of Zone 1. And then the the previous iteration or version of TA were fighting over a level 1 pass with EMP, or wanted to take the pass. Something about a level 1 pass wanting to be captured, and then a skirmish happening in one of the Zone 1 regions. And then in short, TLDR there is that those people lost whatever fight or war happened, and then they moved, and that was when TA formed in, I believe, Zoland. Which is another Zone 1 region. And from there, they never expanded outwards. They never tried to go and take over another region or go and attack people to the point of where they just took over an entire region or killed a bunch of flags and went to go get territory, right? They always stayed in Zoland. On the opposite side, you have, right, and sure, maybe they made threats or whatever they said, right, but they never actionably did anything, which is, at the end of the day, the most important part. And then you have on the other end, where EMP, OWO, PKO2, if DWD was involved in there, or GRZ, and then some of, if not up to, all of these alliances start working their way from the 1 or 2 regions, right? Because you have the wall's right here, so you have a region here and then a region here, and they kind of start working their way all the way around the Zone 1 regions, one by one, and attacking defenseless alliances, obviously one being mine, which never attacked anyone, not even in our region, never attacked anyone until we were attacked first. And there was at least 1 to 2 other alliances in our region that also were proactively attacked by that group. And then they get to the next region, proactively attacked another alliance that, to my knowledge, had not attacked them first. Right, so you have at least a few alliances that were proactively attacked from what I was in contact with these leaders from, and from what I had saw happening. And then you get to a point where they eventually make their way over to TA's side, and then they start proactively attacking them. The one thing I have yet to see... Oh, please. Nice, I'm getting some grub. The one thing, and I'm going to say this, right? The one thing I have yet to see from anyone that no one has been able to provide me yet is, where was TA aggressively trying to take over the kingdom, right? Where is some screenshot or some video evidence, anything that shows that they were actually proactively trying to take over the kingdom, and then specifically taking steps and actions to do that? Not just words, right? Because words are hollow until you actually start doing something. People could say whatever they want. Happens all the time, right? That's why we take words with a grain of salt until we start seeing things that are actual. It doesn't mean that we can't prepare or be prepare in some ways, right, or be cautious. But until we start actually seeing actions and steps being taken to try and fulfill whatever the thing is that these people are saying, or whoever is saying, right, then they're just hollow words. And so so I haven't seen anything from anyone. No one to this point has been able to provide me with any evidence or supportive data that shows that TA wanted to take over the entire kingdom, right? Even now, they could be going out and attacking farmers. They could be going out and expanding to other regions, right? While the whole Zone 3 thing is happening, they could have TS go and do that, but they're not. Doesn't really connect any dots on how the other side, who has been actually doing the bullying, if you really want just to label it as that, right? But in short, they're just going around and we're advancing through regions where they did attack alliances and players that were not aggressive and were defenseless. And then you have this side that's calling the other side the bullies, and they're constantly repeating and regurgitating the same thing about how they are wanting to take over the entire kingdom, they're going to ruin it, all this stuff. But I haven't seen any indication of that at all whatsoever. And when I ask people about it, no one has anything to show me. It's like I've done all the due diligence that I can, right? When I reached out to every single officer and leader at the time in these, again, top 7 to 8 alliances a little while ago, and no one can provide me anything that indicates or shows me that they were actually doing things, right? What I get is hearsay. I've got some partial screenshots from words that were said. But remember, words are hollow, right? We're looking at actions. What actions were actually taken in Server 2 by TA to go and do these things? And the fact is that nothing was. And so, you know, it's just funny because I almost kind of get this impression that it's like you have one side who is almost trying to kind of shape a narrative that they want to shape without taking any level of responsibility or accountability for themselves and their actions, and just saying what it is, right? Which, look, let's be honest, there's nothing wrong with what one group wants to do. If they decide that they just want to go and attack players and alliances and just take over regions, they can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just have the professional courtesy to call it like it is, right? Don't mask and hide under this veil of deception about what your true intentions or ulterior or true motives are. Just say what it is. We wanted to take over the kingdom, and we decided to go and attack these alliances, regardless if they attacked us or not, because we just wanted to strike first and rule out any possibility of rebellion, even if there was none, right? Just be honest, be upfront, be truthful, right? For me, that's my big thing. And I just don't feel that is happening right now. I just feel as though it's like a double down, a triple down, a quadruple down on lies after lies, and then misleading. No one's saying that TA may or may not have posted or had said language that could have indicated that they wanted to go and attack whoever or run the server. But the words that you hear from some and the actions are the complete opposite. That doesn't justify, right, the campaign statement that is being presented and fluffed, if you will, to the general public. And that's the thing I have a problem with, right? And I don't, probably saying having a problem is strong, right? That's just the thing I just don't agree with, right? Is that if they just came out and they were upfront about it, like, look, this is what we're doing, this is what we want to do, then okay, cool, right? At least we all know. So yeah. Anyways, that's my spiel there. But again, and I'll say this right as well toward the end of this point before, because I know we're almost at 15 minutes here, is if anyone does have any evidence, I'd love to see it. Still waiting. Again, right, you can show me anytime, and I'm happy to stand corrected. Right, like I said, that specifically shows they were actionably, meaning doing things in game, that showed that they were taking over the kingdom, or that they were bullying and attacking every single player in sight in not just their region but other regions, right? Because that's what taking over the kingdom is. That's what, kind of how the narrative is being shaped from one side onto the other side. Let's see. We're going to try and end this here soon. So let's see if there's anything else good here. Let me see. T5, Solo Kingdom and Rock, Kaijin goes on 2, Limitations. Big Whale. Let me see. Fort's Flags. To be fair, has similar junior characters and strong. Yeah, man, it's strong though. Carwood needs a nerf. Multiple marches. We understand the problem. Conversations, yeah, man. Tia wanted to truce with OWO to destroy EMP. He doesn't want to be friends with whales alone, but drives them away. OWO is saving the server. I mean, this is the thing where I don't necessarily, let me say, I don't necessarily think anyone is killing the server, right? I mean, if you can have, this is the thing I will say. The thing I like about the fight, right, and this is a big win, and I hope people can really understand where I'm coming from with this. One of the best things I love about the fight, the war that's happening in Server 2, is that it seems that the other alliances that are not directly involved are also not being affected, meaning that there's no collateral damage. It's not as though, because these players can't get their PvP fill on with each other, they're now going and just ravaging and pillaging everyone else. This, in my opinion, is actually a pretty organized and controlled fight, if you're looking at it objectively, where it's predominantly happening in Zone 3, and it's between these pretty much 4 to 5 alliances right at this point, at least when it comes to the majority of consistent PvP engagement. And that, to me, is very respectable, where they're not going out and just attacking anyone and everyone and just killing off more of the activity for people that are not directly involved. That has to be commended and has to be respected. And that's big kudos, right? Regardless of however it ends. I love the fact, right? And if they keep this up, and however it turns out, right, if they don't end up getting the final dragon or final piece or whatever, but they stay intact, and they run it back for Season 2, dude, that's dope, right? Maybe TA will get a little more love and maybe get another alliance under their belt to go, to maybe go 3v3 or 3v4, right, up against them. And then now you're looking at a now closer and more fair fight, so to speak, at least when it comes to even alliances numbers and kind of general activity. So that would even be really cool to see. So, yeah, like I said, I don't actually see it as anyone killing it. If anything, I view it as there being some consistent activity that's keeping it relevant and sustainable at the moment. Obviously, that may not be how it ends up, but at least for now, I'm happy to see what I have been seeing. So, anyways, with that in mind, that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead. So where was this here? NPO bullied alliances around all the zone regions, all those came together to form TS story. Well, this isn't true because we didn't go together with anyone. This is the thing that Mao says. It says union means allies. If NAST thinks otherwise, they're delusional. Yeah, so this is the thing that I don't think Mao... I've spoken to Mao about this as well, is that if and I've said this in a previous video, if you read our alliance announcement board, it specifically said NAP with everyone. This was well before we temporarily added an allies list, right? And so there's two things here. That's the first. And then even though it was temporarily on there, right, we eventually took it off, but the NAP portion always stayed. That was the thing that was always there first. Regardless of who your allies were, the first thing that was there, the primary objective was to be an NAP, which is a non-aggression pact, right? In short, it just means we're neutral with everyone, right? We're not for or against anyone. Having allies does not immediately or instantly mean that, oh yeah, we're going to go and fight and bat for them in any and every situation. You could be forming temporary allies to get access to passes, to get from one zone to another. You could do it if you guys decide that you're going to go fight against someone and you just want to avoid friendly fire against your units. It doesn't only mean one thing or the other. Those who make the assumption as such, I would argue, right, is presumptuous and impulsive to do so. Instead, you could ask, right? That's something that I do when I'm in Kingdoms, regardless of what I see on their board. I always go out and take my time to reach out to a lead. Brav, who's someone who played with me in previous projects, knows that's how I operate. other people that are in this Discord who were with me in previous projects, if they were ever an officer or a leader in any of my projects, whether it be in Rise of Kingdoms or Infinity Kingdom, they know, especially if they were involved, I should say, if they were involved and they were aware of how I conducted diplomacy, they would know the one thing we always preach is you extend your hand. You start a conversation. You communicate right before you make any assumptions because you want to be able to kind of hear it from the horse's mouth. So, that would be the one unfortunate part I would say there is that, and that was something I talked to Mao and EMP about as well, is someone, initially, and I talked about this before, when I initially reached out to Mao, it was, again, I've only had good conversations with him. I'm not necessarily, as a person, he player seems nice. We've had very good back and forth. However, one of the things that happened early on was that when I was discussing things with him, he told me that someone would get back to me to discuss diplomacy. This was early on, right before they even came into the Navola region, and no one got in touch with me. Right, so I take that as, this person gave me their word, and I didn't hear from anyone. That's not on me, that's on them. In addition, like I said before, right, we were never aggressive towards anyone. Anyone who was in NAST, in my alliance, or even just in that region, or just paid attention at all, could tell you that. Right, we never bordered the other Zone 1 passes on the Zone 1 region that was on their side from where EMP and I think, I can't remember, I think it was GRZ that was coming in. And so, we just chilled. We just did our thing. Right, we were focusing kind of on a 1/3, 1/4 split with other big alliances in the region, and that was it. So, anyways, just wanted to reiterate and point that out, and just keep in mind, right? As I mentioned before, everyone has their own way of going about playing the game. Right, I do not necessarily think there's anything wrong with anyone's decision for how they go about playing. I just believe that there's certain pros and cons that come along with that, right? And there's certain levels of responsibility and accountability that we have to take, depending on the choices that we make, and that's really it. I still think everyone should play, in the way that they think is fun and enjoyable for them. It's just that, if you, as an example, if you think being rogue and just going around and attacking everyone is fun for you, you just may find out that just may not be tolerated or appreciated or found in good light in that kingdom, right? And they may do something. So, it's just kind of having that universal understanding that it just depends on, a few different factors. With that in mind, I'm almost at an hour here of talking about, a bunch of stuff. I'm basically pretty much in a podcast right now. That's going to be it for me. I would love to hear, like I said, I'm going to try and timestamp out the big portions here that I touched on, because I think there was at least 4 or 5 good ones that we really had kind of a deep thought into. I'd love to hear from any of you, right, on any of the points that I touched on. Let me know in those comments down below. That is it for me as always. Until next time, I'll catch you later.